Before the pod gets started, go ahead and leave us a rating on Spotify, Apple Music, or wherever else you listen to the pod. Thank you. Hello and welcome back to the Yellow Squared podcast, and we're back, James, aren't we? We're back following 2 wins on the spin after Leicester, 6 points out of a possible 9 this week, and we are charging up the table, to say the least. Good morning, James. How are you doing?
Good morning, mate. Yeah, I'm very well. Always a spring in the step after a win, especially after an away win, and when you've just witnessed one of the weekend's greatest goals, if not the greatest goal. Although I suppose Ipswich might have something to say about that one with the Trivella. Mate, yeah, I'm really good, and we're back, and Watford are back, baby. Come on.
Yeah, exactly right. I think there is no better way to start than guess the player, isn't there?
No, I don't think so at all. I think before we get into what we want to chat about today, which is kind of the team and the squad, we should probably set the gauntlet down and get something for you and the viewers to think about as we start to ponder our nonsense. So yeah, it's my go.
Yeah.
Um, you've got a guess today.
Yes.
It's 5-2
Yeah.
after a wonderful Darius Henderson guess from
Yeah.
myself, if
Yeah.
I might say so myself. And I will say yes because it was a total guess. I can't believe I got that lucky. But yeah. Are you ready, mate, for the first clue?
I am. Yeah. Yeah. Let's go
Yeah,
for
good.
it. Let's go for it.
Let's bounce straight in. I think the viewers understand the rules and the scores now, so let's go. So guess number one. I made a total of 328 career appearances, was born in Pamplona, and got my big move to England in 2004 to a Premier League title challenging side.
Right. That.
I feel like I've given you a lot there for the first guess.
Where? Right. Where were they born?
They were born in Pamplona.
Pamplona.
It's up to you to know where that is.
Right. I'm gonna presume that's Italy.
You can presume if you like.
Okay. Right. This could be any player.
Could be. I mean, saying that he signed for the club the day before the season started in 2005 was could be any player.
Wow. What? the- Right.
Think about it. Think about it, mate. Come on.
Right. 300 career appearances and
Are you sure Pamplona is Italy?
I've got no idea where Pamplona is.
Oh, I've,
I don't know. Right. I can't, my mind is completely right. So 2004,
yeah,
straight into a Premier League challenging team.
yeah.
2004. And then they've obviously moved on to play for Watford after that.
After that, yeah.
I'm trying to think who. Oh, I'm gonna have a guess and say Aurelio Gomez.
I tell you what. Uh, I'm not sure how you got to Aurelio Gomez, but you're in the right area. But ladies
Okay.
and gentlemen,
Right. Can't believe it.
you're closer than you might think, and maybe guess number two will give you an idea. But you cannot tie it. I take the lead into next week. I'm very excited about that one.
Well,
Incorrect.
you know
We'll
what?
catch up.
My
We'll
clue
catch up in the
next
middle of
week
the.
is going to be they were a professional football player and see how you get on with
Let's not let. Yeah. Okay. All
that.
right. Anyway, sorry, mate. You got that one wrong. We'll come back to that in a bit.
Okay, back to that shortly. Okay, James,
Mm.
moving on with the podcast onto some current Watford knowledge, and I think we've got to briefly mention Norwich at home, if you
Yeah,
pardon the
yeah,
pun.
yeah.
So, James, you were there on Tuesday. I was watching
Yep.
from home via Hive Live. It was a terrible 20 minutes, wasn't it, to begin with?
Awful. Yeah, really, really bad. And do you know what, mate? I'd be actually really interested to hear your thoughts on what it was like watching on TV. Because it was strange in the ground. I'm not going to lie. Obviously, Norwich go 2-0 up pretty quickly, and they were two absolute gifts to Norwich because they hadn't really done anything. They hadn't really threatened, to be honest, and we found
No.
ourselves 2-0 down, and we were sloppy in the first 20 minutes, and we just couldn't get going. Found ourselves 2-0 down. Porto giving the ball away for the second goal. Great strike, by the way. You can't
Mm.
take anything away from it. It was a good hit and a good finish. And then, obviously the first goal coming from a corner, which is just our Achilles heel at the moment. We cannot seem to defend
Yeah.
corners properly, and we just got ourselves in the right state. And there was basically two lads unmarked at the back post. It felt like, and it just got headed in the back stick, which was very disappointing. And um, sat next to Nick, long-term listener of the pod. He's becoming more of a Watford fan every day. He won't want me admitting that. Um, but he was frustrated with it because you could see that Norwich hadn't actually really tried to do too much. They had literally been given two goals, and it took us 20 minutes to get into the match. But after about 25 minutes, I did turn to Nick and I said, I tell you what, if we just get one, we might be able to mount a bit of a comeback here,
Yeah.
because Norwich were literally sat so deep, they were just kicking the ball forward. There was no focal point for them at all, really. And yeah, we grew into the game, and then we did what we needed to do. Great goal from Kone,
Mm.
good finish, and then the second goal came shortly after that, but our tails were well and truly up. Good cross from Jamal Lewis, got a tiny deflection, but would you believe it, mate? It was a cross that was intended to be lifted towards the back post, which caused the problems, and
Yeah.
Rivich was there to tuck the ball away.
Yeah.
Found ourselves 2-2, and then, to be honest, from there, from about 30 minutes, mate, it was 65 minutes of Watford being all over Norwich, and it
Yeah.
was a case of when, not if, that we got the winner. And barring Kone smacking the ball off the crossbar, um, it could have been much more comfortable. We had some good chances, and Aspria's finish was what was it you would say as the kids of today, dripping with sauce. I think I think
Wow.
you could say, yeah. I mean, it was a wonderful bit of skill to bring it around the keeper and just sort of tuck it in. It was a bit confusing because the referee looked like he hadn't given it and then had given it, and then people still stopped and
Yeah.
people weren't sure what was happening. But yeah, brilliant. And then we sort of clung on at the end. Norwich decided to show a little bit of fight in the last sort of 5 minutes, which put us under a bit of pressure. But it was a very strange one, for us to come from behind to win that game. But it was very satisfying, and I did
Yeah.
leave the game that day thinking that we have a style of play, the players are committed to it, there is a plan, and there is a team there. We would not have done that last season, I'm afraid. There's no
No,
way that
no.
we would have fought back to win that one 3-2. Um, and they just looked really, to be honest, they looked really calm. And even at 2-0 down, they
Mm.
just kind of got back into it. And yes, Norwich didn't really look like they knew what they wanted to do even at 2-0, um, and made it relatively comfortable for us. But we were still on the ascendancy, passing with intensity and incisiveness, and deserved the win. And we left Watford feeling much happier than we were after 20 minutes. But yeah, inside the ground, it was pretty empty. I'm not going to lie, there wasn't that many people there,
Mm.
but we're certainly enjoying seeing Watford go and turn that one around. Only one team in yellow, mate.
Yeah. Wow.
I don't know what it was like on the TV. What was it like on the
Uh,
TV?
it was yeah, it was interesting. Watching it we didn't show up at all for the first 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah, yeah,
Norwich didn't particularly do anything, and I think even they were surprised to be 2-0 up. Um,
yeah, yeah,
I could hear some sorts of boos and whatnot off the second goal after that goes in, and I was a bit miffed by that, to be honest. And the same with the usual Twitter meltdown. And Ismael out apparently because we definitely need a new head coach after that. And
yeah,
yeah, I was a bit, but honestly, Kone produces that one bit of quality, and Norwich folded after that, and it could have been 4-5-2.
yeah, yeah,
Coney unlucky with the crossbar, and we had a couple other chances as well. That I
yeah.
can't quite remember off the top of my head, but yeah, very deserved win. To come from behind as well was really nice to see, especially when last year we'd have probably gone on to lose that game 3 or 4-0, um, because their heads would have just gone. But yeah, really good to see that the style of football is being implemented in a way which, even at 2-0 down, they're calm and they know what they need to do and they know how to execute the plan and to win a game of football, and that's quite pleasing because even when it feels like we are on the floor, they can pick themselves up
Mm,
and go again and have that ability to overcome a steep deficit really.
mm.
And Norwich were really 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 poor,
They were.
but you know what, we have to win those games, and as I said, we wouldn't have won that last year, so these are the types of games we need to pick up points in, and you know what, we are now, and fair play. It was a good way to turn around, and yeah, I have to agree. Even though your phrase might be one of the worst things I've ever heard on this podcast, yes, Asperia's finish was dripping with sauce.
Yeah.
Right,
Uh, yeah.
let's move swiftly on to Hull this weekend, James.
Mm.
I'm going to take the floor with this one.
Yeah, go for it.
I thought we were excellent for. I'm going to say, okay, excellent for 93 minutes, other than the 2 minutes where Delap was just allowed to run through the entire team, basically through the middle, and they scored about a minute after us.
Mm.
But we looked so comfortable on the ball, and I've often always thought it seems like teams have so much time on the ball, and when they're playing us, but when we have the ball, it seems like we have absolutely no time. We're rushing everything, but you know what?
Mm.
Yesterday we moved the ball around so well, one touch passing, and from my point of view, seeing the passes of the phases of play that they were working on during the warm up in recent weeks, and it's paying off. I think it's paying off.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They move the ball around really nicely. They're calm on the ball. They know we're working out how to diffuse situations, take the sting out of whole attacks. They were excellent with that. Um, yeah, creating chances was great. Sema and Lewis obviously have a great relationship, and at the same time, on the other side, it seems like Kembe and Asprey are on the same page a lot of the time as well.
Mm.
But you know what, moving the ball around really calmly, really nicely, incisive play. Of course, there's every now and then we make the wrong decision, and at times yesterday at 1-1, I thought that there was a couple of chances where Kone shoots miles over, and Lewis had a couple shots, and I wasn't necessarily sure if it was gonna come for us, and then I was a bit uncertain that the Hull might nick something, which which they almost did, and I don't know whether you wanted to touch on this, James, but how much of a penalty would you have said that was?
Uh, in the heat of the moment, sort of watching it, I was sort of on the side of, oh, he's kind of looked for it. I don't know, maybe it had the shades of the Jamie Vardy's about it, that he just sort of hung a leg out and tried to get some contact off Livermore because um you know it looked harsh, and I honestly, for a minute, I did think the referee would go and speak to the assistant, and we might have another situation that we did against, was it Millwall? No, who was it? Sheffield Wednesday.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, a Sheffield Wednesday moment, but kind of looking at it in the light of day, I think if it had been on the other foot, we'd probably say, yeah, well, there's contact and bloody bloody blah. So I wanted to see clear daylight, and it was an absolute dive, but for me, was probably contact. So I'm probably being nice and kind because we ended up saving it. But
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
I don't know. It's one of them that if it was given and VAR was in play, it's not been overturned, is it?
No, I guess not. Yeah, just
But what I will say is I can't believe that was the only decision the ref gave all match. Uh,
yeah, yeah.
we might come
Weird.
on to the ref at the end, but that was mad. The amount he let go all game, and he just goes, "Yeah, I'll give that penalty."
Yeah, which was
Very strange.
particularly soft, even with
Yeah,
how much contact there was. But Ben Hamer, brilliant save.
yeah.
We'll get on to a little discussion about the squad and the team in a little bit, but I
Mm.
do want to touch on the fact that Hamer comes in with Backman available and saves a penalty. Looks like a safe pair of hands. I think he's growing in confidence in terms of his match fitness, given that he's only
Yeah,
played for Watford 5 times in 2 years. So he's getting up to speed. He looks very comfortable on the ball. I'm far
yeah,
less nervous when he's on the ball than I would be with Backman.
yeah, yeah.
So
Agreed.
yeah, but we'll touch on it in a bit. But I think it'll be interesting to see how Backman works his way back into the side, or maybe he doesn't, and maybe Heyman becomes the number one for now. But
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No, that'd be fascinating to see that. Yeah.
yeah, and then wow, it could definitely be its own topic on it. But goodness me, Wesley Hoedt, it might genuinely be one of the best goals I've ever seen like live.
I mean, it was. Oh, what a goal! It was. It was kind of typical of of Hoot's game, wasn't it? It was Hoot's entire game in a split second, wasn't it?
Yeah,
It was a brilliant sort of interception challenge on Delap, which he did all game, and then he kind of sets himself, sees the keeper off his line, and he plays the ball as if he was um, playing a crossfield pass out to the left or right, and he just sort of clips the ball, and when it went in the net, I, it was amazing. Couldn't believe it when
yeah,
when
no,
I saw it going.
honestly,
It was so good, wasn't it? I think uh, my wife downstairs must have thought I'd sort of lost an arm or a leg upstairs because I just screamed. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't
yeah,
believe what I'd
yeah,
seen. It was absolutely unbelievable, and what a moment! And when you have when Hamer made the penalty save, I kind of was sat here thinking to myself,
wow, yeah,
those are the moments where the game can turn, and we'll get something out of the day because penalty saves are so important. But yeah, brilliant thinking. And obviously after the game, he's come out and said we spoke a lot about the high line of the goalkeeper and how involved he is in the play,
mm,
and he's going to be off his line a bit. So clearly the tactics were sort of are working. They do their research on the different teams, and it
yeah,
was in the forefront of his mind. And do you know what was really nice is the celebration. He immediately turned around and just ran to the Watford fans,
yeah,
which was
yeah, yeah.
super nice to see. Captain Hoot, baby.
Yeah, he looked like a different man yesterday. It was a fantastic performance.
Mm,
Obviously, being captain means something to him, and he really played. I think it could be one of the best games I've seen Hoedt have.
Yeah, yeah, I would
Everything
say.
came off for him. You know, he intercepted the ball. His challenges were perfect, and that was a man that was you know, close to being on a suspension for yellow cards as well. So
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
had to be perfect, and it
And I
was.
mean, it was basically. I mean, I know the ball rebounded to I can't remember his name. That's bad. I mean, the dude who scored for Hull, sorry, Twine. I
Yeah,
know it
Twine.
ended up rebounding to him, but his challenge on the guy going through was unbelievable, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
yeah, really
He's,
good.
he's so good at that well-timed sort of hook back challenge. Um, so you could argue that was a goal-saving tackle. It just ended up rebounding. So
Yeah, it
yeah,
felt
and he
so
was
nice.
superb. He was close to being a 10 out of 10 yesterday for me anyway.
Yeah, yeah, he led this side really well. Just a couple of instances for me where I think it was Sema that was just complaining to the fourth official, and Hoot sort of walks over and then
Yeah.
has a word and pushes Sema aside, and that's a sign of a good leader as well. To not let your players get too wound up with the officials, because ultimately it's detracting from the squad anyway. If somebody's frustrated with something that's they can't control. So
Mm.
that was good to see as well. But yeah, he had a fantastic game, and that yeah, one of the greatest goals I've seen from a Watford point of view, and it's so perfect, isn't it? Right in the top corner. There was not a chance the keeper
Yeah,
could save it, because he thinks it's going over as
yeah.
well.
Yeah, he does. And to be fair to the keeper, he was right. I mean, I would be digging out my defenders if I was lobbed from 50 yards. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
tough one for him there. He's unlucky. He's unlucky to be caught out by that.
Yeah,
Not.
but it's one of those it's one of those things, isn't it, where you run where you're playing a high line, you run the risk, don't you?
Yeah,
And
yeah, you do. And they risked it all day.
yeah,
They risked it all day. And we'll talk about the squad, but in a minute, I know we keep sort of leaving a hook in there, but yeah, there was plenty of chances for sort of little closes down um, uh, all afternoon, and we nearly nicked a couple, didn't we? But
yeah, yeah,
but yeah.
very nearly. And yeah, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the remainder of the game, and it did
Mm.
feel a little bit like the Alamo. Um,
Yeah.
on the 80th minute, bringing on Pollock and Serralta, I was a bit like,
Yeah.
we are about to lose 5-2. But
Yeah. Yeah.
you know
I was
what?
I was worried about
They Ishmael proved me wrong. You proved me wrong that the substitutions obviously worked. We shored up the defence. Yes, they had a couple of chances, and Philogene on another day would have scored maybe a couple of goals. But yeah, they had a
that.
couple of
Yeah.
chances, but ultimately we defended really well. And then the game management as well, to bring on Deli
Yeah.
Bashiru in the 94th minute just to tidy things up. Bio, and I
I
have to
came on and did his
mention,
thing, didn't he?
he did
Yeah.
indeed, but I have to mention the run that Kayembe made in the
Oh.
92nd minute, by the way,
Yeah. Yeah.
breezing past two or three players just to run it into the
Yeah.
corner. And
Yeah.
and I
He.
don't want to keep putting that little hook in, but we're touching on the squad in a couple of minutes, I promise.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he has been one of the standouts for me in this, in this little purple patch of form.
He's accelerated as a Watford player, hasn't he? So good, so impressive,
Yeah, yeah,
and yeah, so likable as well.
yeah,
So likable.
absolutely. Right,
Um.
James. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
just before we do speak about the squad, I would like clue number two, please,
You
for
want clue
guess the
number
player.
two. Okay, well, you didn't get the first one, so here we go. Guess number two, ladies and gentlemen. So, as a reminder, guess one. I made a total of 328 career appearances. I was born in Pamplona, got my big move to England in 2004 to a Premier League title challenging side. You said Aurelio Gomez. Incorrect. Guess number two. In 2009, I witnessed one of the great Champions League goals in an all English semi final, a 35-yard free kick. I'll chuck in a bonus clue for you there, mate. Pamplona is in Spain.
And I would like to tell you, James, that the player is Manuel Almunia.
Wonderful. Good guess, mate.
Yeah,
Very good.
yeah,
Um, Manuel Almunia.
yeah.
Very good.
A
I
certain
was
Cristiano
hoping. I was.
Ronaldo as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I left CR7 out of the guess because I thought that'd be too obvious. But yeah, Manuel Almunia, 5-4 to you, mate. Do you want to hear the third and final guess?
Yeah, go on then.
My most famous moment in a Hornets shirt was an incredible, if not a little laboured, double save on Dini Day in 2013.
Yeah, I think something might have given it away to be
Yeah,
Almunia in that one.
yeah. Was
Yeah,
it the little laboured bit?
yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah. And you know what? As soon as you started reading out the second clue, not even before I'd heard any of it, I thought, yeah, it could be Almunia this one.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I feel bad from that one because it's an unbelievable strike from Ronaldo, isn't it?
yeah,
And you can
yeah,
just see it fizzing around all over the place, and he looks a little bit silly, sadly. But yeah, he was a great player for us, wasn't he, Almunia?
yeah.
Loved him. Sort of. Um, I don't know about you, but it was kind of one of the first signings at Watford in the Potts era that made me think we were really changing tack, and we were starting to sign some really interesting players.
Mm, mm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay,
But
James.
5-4, mate, 5-4. So
Yeah,
you
five
know
four.
you're lagging behind now.
I've got to make the clues as hard as possible next week so that I can catch up. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so we've been building up to this, James, for the pretty much the whole podcast, but we wanted to have a little discussion about the squad at the moment, and
Mm, mm.
I don't think there's a better place to start than Ben Hamer.
No, absolutely not. And I think really why we wanted to chat about this, wasn't it, is because back-to-back wins, but it was the same starting 11.
Yeah.
So it feels like a bit of a settled side, and obviously things are starting to look up. So it felt a good place to sort of chat about the players and where we think they are at the moment. But yeah, Ben Hamer, he's come in. Um, he's not yet got to his 100th career clean sheet.
No.
But I think the the obvious place to start for me is I don't think he goes back to Backman.
No.
Um,
No.
straight away. I think it's a bit like the Ngaki Andrew situation, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Hamer has come into the side and he's proving his worth. He is making saves. He's playing the system well. Vital penalty save yesterday. I think it would be harsh on Ben Hamer um, if Backman was just to be given um, his shirt back straight away,
Yeah.
especially because of the lack of discipline. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, I'd agree with that, to be honest. I think whilst Hamer scares me a little bit at some points in the game with the saves he makes, I think he'll only get better at the moment, given that he's, you know, adjusting, really. He's not played a lot of football in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
But for me, he's, a real safe pair of hands, and he's more calm than Backman. And it really allows for a captain like Hoedt or a defender to really lead the team and
Mm,
not have to keep
mm,
trying to marshal it from as far back as possible, really, on the pitch. But no, I don't think Backman should come back in instantly. Maybe at some point, but for now, I think Ben Hamer is
yeah.
undoubtedly proving his worth as a starting choice, and a penalty save is not going to go amiss in the evidence that Ismael would need
No,
to uh,
no, no,
to to pick between the two. No.
not at all. I mean, and just the other thought that's occurred to me is a little bit of the conversation that we had with James from the Watford Way. We're talking about competition for places,
Yeah.
particularly at
Yeah.
goalkeeper and centre back, and we kind of wrote off Ben Hamer at the start of the season, saying that there was just clearly no competition. And I don't know, maybe the last couple of performances has sort of proven us wrong in some respects. Maybe that there is a bit more of they are a bit closer together in terms of how they fit into the side and what they bring to the party. So yeah, it looks like maybe there is a bit more competition for the starting goalkeeper shirt than we first thought. And I suppose really that can only be a good thing for the club and the side going forward.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it creates a healthier atmosphere than just having one goalkeeper that that you know will start no matter what. So
Mm,
there's
mm.
only positives out of that for me. Um, I think I'd like to touch on the midfield next, James.
Yeah, sure.
Given that I wouldn't have said that at the start of the season, I wouldn't have thought we'd be saying that Livermore, Kayembe, and Kone would be a quality midfield. Given that the players we have and who started the opening day, but
Hmm.
they have come in and done a huge shift. Kone is coming on leaps and bounds. There's so much potential there, but he is really like accelerating at the moment. Kayembe, we mentioned it a little bit earlier. He's accelerated as a Watford player as well. He looks really assured and is actually really fast. For a 40
Hmm.
year old, his uptake is unbelievably fast,
Yeah.
and uh, and he's even adding a couple of goals to his game as well. And how often have we mentioned Livermore recently? But he's come in and we've got 18 points from 9 games since he's been starting, and there's no coincidence about that. He is a leader, and it's difficult to think of more words to describe Livermore. Um,
Oh no, no,
and
no.
and I think the pleasing thing for me is how frustrated he was with himself by giving away the penalty, which fortunately was saved, but the reactions suggest to me that he really really cares about Watford
Yeah.
and really cares about getting 3 points and having a positive impact on the game and improving and getting better as a squad and in reality he doesn't really have any ties to Watford, does he? He's just come
No,
in,
not at all.
and that really shows me that he's one of those players that would fight for the badge and would die for the badge no matter who they play for. So
Yeah.
he's a real asset to have. But then on the flip side of that, James, you're looking
Mm.
at Tom Bashiru and Loser that have really fallen out of favour. And at the start of the season, I don't know what you think about this, but at the start of the season, we'd have been thinking that those two are immovable from the team, and really shows how things can change after a couple of injuries here and there, and all of a sudden the dynamic of the squad's completely changed. Um, so yeah, James, what do you think about the midfield?
I mean, I absolutely agree with you on all the points you just raised there. For me, that midfield now just looks so balanced.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
so well oiled. You know how they're going to operate. They clearly have a good relationship with each other. The amount of little one and two touch passes that you see between the sort of the three of them, or little triangles in and around the pitch, it just shows the understanding that's there. Livermore's willingness to do the ugly stuff, sitting back, taking the ball off the centre halves, or just being the person that holds his position to pick up opposing midfielders and attackers, just allows Kayembe and Kone to go forward and attack. And when I'm going to say I saw this for Kone, but you could make an argument that you see the same thing for Kayembe in some respects. But Kone is really starting to give me Doucouré vibes
yeah,
in the sense
yeah,
that he's willing to take the ball and just drive with it, and he's got the pace and the ball control and the strength to a degree to really get through the lines and bring the ball forward, which is, and we might touch on this, when we've got a forward line which is maybe a little bit less mobile and less able to bring others into play. Having two midfielders in Kone and Kembe who are able to drive, bring the ball up the pitch, and bring others into play, it's so important. And I think now that is the midfield going forward. And to be honest, I would struggle really to say that you know the loser and Delebashiru and Chakvetadze, even to a degree, makes a case really to start now going forward. It's going to be suspensions or injuries really that's going to be the reason for those guys on the bench to get a starting position. because they just look so good. And yeah, Kayembe and Kone have just come on leaps and bounds in the recent upturn in form, and they're just really fun to watch at the moment. And I'm just pleased that Kayembe is actually starting to prove some of the doubters out there who were quite rightly critical of him. I just think he was played in the wrong position for him. He's starting to prove people wrong and just show how much of an asset he can be. And you're right about the goals. Kone and Kayembe now starting to add goals to the game is so important to the team. So yeah, I think if you're going to ask me where am I most comfortable with Watford at the moment, it's that midfield three because it just looks so well oiled at the moment.
Yeah, I can agree with that, and I think it's interesting to say about Livermore specifically that he does a lot of the dirty work, but ultimately he's probably one of the best midfielders we've had at Watford in a while. I think, and
All round wise, yeah.
I don't think that's too crazy to say either. He does a lot of the work, but he never loses the ball. He puts in a great challenge, and as we tweeted, I think anyone that clatters Ashley Barnes in that manner deserves, yeah,
Oh,
deserves
my
the world.
hero.
Deserves
My
the world.
hero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But from the perspective of Kone and Kayembe, they are willing runners. They are battlers in midfield, and now they're even starting
Yeah.
to have end product. And
Yeah.
from the point of loser, I think the big thing for us was that he always had a really good end product. His final ball was on the whole quality, and he would pop up with goals and assists.
Yeah.
But from that perspective now, he can't compete with them if they are popping up with goals here and there and really accelerating through midfield with the ball. And an instance it springs to mind yesterday of Kone driving at the whole midfield
Yeah.
and goes
Yeah.
on
So good.
like a 40 or 50 meter run with it, and it's like, whoa, that is impressive. And it kind of reminds me of the Kone we saw on the debut in the FA Cup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
He's got that confidence back, hasn't he?
yeah, I would 100% agree with that. And I do agree with the Decore analogy because I think he's quite 80-20 at times.
In times, yeah.
Yeah, he'll do. He did a really great challenge yesterday, and then turned to play with it and just kicked the ball out with his left foot, and I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. But yeah, he's
That's gonna come though, isn't it? That's gonna
yeah.
come.
I mean, you
And,
look at how good Decore is now, and
yeah, I think we've got a real player on our hands with him.
yeah,
And he just,
yeah,
he, I just, hopefully he keeps going from strength to strength because,
yeah,
yeah. And I mean, it was his tackle that set up the first goal, yesterday, which I think isn't really been spoken about, but that sort of defensive tackle in the fight in sort of Hull's sort of defensive third won the ball back, didn't it? And set up the chance. So, yeah, he does so much good work for the team. So yeah,
yeah, yeah, and
King Kone.
yeah, King Kone, and they really ran the midfield yesterday. They were at the heart of everything. KMB and Kone, um, really moving the ball from side to side, and I don't think Hull could deal with that, and I don't think a lot of Championship sides will be able to deal with that. And we've got some tough games coming up, but I don't think. I mean, people are really, really worried about the upcoming games, but I think people are going to look at that and look at the upcoming games we have now and think, you know what, we've got a chance in every one of these games to at least give them a good game. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
yeah,
we might not win every game, but we will definitely turn up with a distinctive style of play and really give them a game, really give them a
yeah,
game, and
yeah,
that's from my perspective. With the squad that we have, I think we can expect nothing more from them but that, and we'll see
yeah,
where we go from there. Really.
yeah. Um, Agreed, mate. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So we'll finish off with the final third, and I think it's interesting, isn't it, James, that Martin's had such a good start to the season,
Mm.
but is sat still on the bench. How do you feel about that with Sema and Asprey being picked over him?
it's really tough, isn't it? Because Sema and Lewis are striking up a really good partnership.
Yeah,
The voice of the Vic dudes were chatting about that yesterday, which I completely agree with. Like they look really strong on that left hand side, and we got a load of joy at the start of the game yesterday. And then when you sort of complement that with Kone, who can sort of drop into that left half of the pitch and pick up the ball as well, it looks like a really good relationship between the three of them. So it's very tough because Martins loves to come in and cut inside. Um, and then if you look at Asprilla on the right hand side, um, he for me, Asprilla's place is a very difficult one. I think he's a little bit inconsistent still at the moment.
mm,
The goals are starting to come, and when he does get on the ball, he very very rarely loses it. Do you know what I mean? He's very
yeah,
comfortable sort of drifting inside and laying the ball off. So it's a tough one, but he sometimes fades in and out of games. But
yeah,
that's not really Martins's position, is it? On the true right hand side, it's a tough one for me because I completely agree with you. Like Martins was very strong at the start of the season, and he was posing such a threat. But I don't know, Sema's really sort of nailed down that left hand side at the moment because I
yeah,
don't think you'd want to unbalance the team, especially if you're playing with Ryovic up front when you need those crosses coming in for him.
yeah,
Um, it may end up being the case that Martins becomes maybe a bit of, what an Asprilla was at the start of the season. When you need something different, when you need it unlocking a little bit, put Martins on for Sema, and uh, and then you can have a bit more of a direct sort of inside forward, as it were, cutting in and getting shots away
mm,
maybe. Um, so yeah, I feel bad for him, but it just looks like the side is nicely positioned at the moment. So um, I'm not sure what you do about the Martin situation, really.
yeah. It must be
Tough.
a headache for Ismael, in terms of balancing the team in the attack, because you know how the quality that Martins has, but if you put him on the left, I genuinely don't think that you get anything out of Ryovic, given that Martins loves to cut in and shoot,
Mm,
more often than he would cross. Whereas Sema and Lewis really worked well together to try and get the ball in the box from the byline. And
yeah,
as Ryovic rightly says, the box is his office. And
yeah,
if you're going to put the ball in the box, it needs to be quality from good areas into good areas. And I don't necessarily think that's what Martins does best. So I can kind of see why he's stuck on the bench at the moment, but I still think he can make an impact when he comes on. And
yeah, oh, big time.
similarly with the Crow, Vac and Bio, I'm I've
Yeah,
I'm a big supporter of Bio. Um,
I think yeah, we all are on this pod, aren't we? Really?
yeah, I think we are, and I feel sorry that he doesn't start more, but at the moment, I think Rajovic is honestly improving. I can comfortably
Yeah,
say he's improving.
yeah, yeah,
He's got 7 goals this season, and a few weeks ago we were saying he can score a goal, but he cannot do anything else. But yesterday was a big improvement for me, and even on Tuesday I was seeing signs of it. His hold-up play is, dramatically improving.
it's getting there, isn't it? Yeah,
And the ball can come into his feet, and he'll take care of it and lay it off. And that's all he has to do as a striker, really. Just take some yards, from the opposition. Really hold the ball up, let the midfield play off you, and
yeah,
I think that's something Bio does really well. But he's not the big guy that Rajovic is, and he doesn't have the physique to hold off 6'5" defenders, and
no,
and I think
but
Rajovic
he,
can do that.
yeah, he can. The only thing is that what Bayo can do, as we saw yesterday, is he has the ability. The ball does stick to him a little bit more,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
with those sort of long forward balls. Which, if you're talking about playing against the top teams at the top of the table, um, when you need shape and you need that press to be perfect, Bayo does that better than Rajovic. It's a
Yes.
conundrum, isn't it?
Yes.
Because, uh, you know, for Bio's faults is that his finishing isn't there. He can't seem to get himself into a position to score, which Rivich seems to be able to do. So it's a real challenge because you want to combine the two of them, don't you? Bio and Rivich as one person is a frightening proposition. But yeah, it's tough. It's tough. I'm not sure we've solved the striker problem this season with the Rivich signing, sadly. But I completely agree with you. He is getting better. He is improving. You definitely saw that yesterday.
Yeah, yeah, and I think Ismael at the moment is getting it right in terms of the starting 11.
Mm.
Um, in general across the field, and you know what, it's paying off. Obviously, not everyone's going to be happy all the time with every single starting 11 and who comes in and who stays in and whether we keep the same 11 or who can make an impact off the bench. But ultimately, you know what, he's cooking up something at the moment, and
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah,
obviously
yeah.
working. So I think we just have to stick to Ishmael, and as we said, we earlier in the season, we have to trust in Ishmael because it's getting us points at the moment, and even from a few weeks ago when we were 21st in the championship and 3 losses on the bounce, culminating in a 2-0 away loss to Sunderland, which was probably one of the worst performances I've seen in a while. From being
Yeah, it was so
kept,
limp, wasn't it?
yeah, really limp. For being kept behind in the changing room for an hour after that by Ismael. Not as a having a go at them for an hour, but as a chance for the squad to really, really discuss their feelings and how they want to improve.
Yeah,
And since then, 9 games have been, and we've got 18 points and only lost once. So I think there's
yeah.
been a real change in mentality and how we approach games as a team in general. But I think Ishmael is getting it right at the moment.
Yeah, I think that's a great point to sort of try and wrap up on, really, mate. I think really because I think it's now time that we start to give Ismail the credit that he probably deserves really for the work that he's done. It's
Yeah,
been a bit slow, but we find ourselves now in 10th place, 3 points off the playoffs, and sort of back-to-back wins, and we're now slap bang in the middle of that run of games where people were sort of cold sweat waking up in the middle of the night. We've gone and beaten Norwich.
yeah,
We've gone away to Hull and won. Um, and we've got Ipswich and Southampton coming up, but we've also got Blackburn and Preston coming up as well, who are just above us in the league. And they're
very
starting to
winnable
lose.
games.
They're starting to lose games as well. So I think now's the time that we can start to credit Ismail for the work he's doing both on a match day and behind the scenes because yeah he I'm really warming to him as a coach now.
Yeah, yeah, I can 100% agree with that. So James, any little final pointers you wanted to add before we round off?
No, no, mate, no. I think I'm all good. Just yeah, it feels nice to get a little bit of the buzz back, if you'll pardon the pun, of coming back to watch Watford, and it feels like things are moving in the right direction, and yeah, we can actually look forward to games now, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And even in a particularly tough period for Watford,
Mm,
it's interesting to wake up on a match day and be excited to watch us play, which we
absolutely.
haven't seen in a little while. So we're on the up, and you know, I don't think you say anything other than you just got stung by the Hornets.
Stung by the Hornets, mate. Yeah.
Light work, right? Thank you very much for listening to the podcast. We'll be back very soon with another podcast following Southampton next weekend. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Cheers, all. Come on, you Hornets.